When Call of Duty World at War released in 2008, one of the most popular game modes in Call of Duty history was born, and that was zombies. It grew with so much success that it left people wondering what Infinity Ward would do for their own co-op mode with the release of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Would they copy Treyarch and create their own zombie mode, or would they design an entirely new game mode? They opted to make Spec Ops, a 1 to 2 player mode where you play through missions with various objectives. At that time of release, it was a very fun co-op experience. However, does it hold up after replaying it all these years later? When Modern Warfare 2 originally was released, I played split screen with my older brother and it was a blast playing through all the levels. They had us do all kinds of objectives like sneaking past enemy lines, planting explosives, collecting intel, disarming bombs, defending against waves of enemies, or a combination of them. Each mission usually left us a variety of weapons at our spawn to choose from, so we weren't stuck with whatever weapon we spawned with. Most missions didn't take very long to complete. Most could be done around 10 minutes if you don't die. There are also no checkpoints, so if you died at the very end of a mission, you'd have to start over. However, this is all mitigated by how Spec Ops is structured compared to the campaign missions. What I didn't like about the campaign missions is that a lot of times you have to go through unskippable sections where it's a cutscene or you have to follow someone just to get to the action. That's why I barely even touched most campaign missions after my first playthrough, because I didn't want to slug my way through a level just to wait for my AI teammates. In Spec Ops though, I was put right into the action from the start. There was no waiting on any cutscene or AI teammates, so I always found myself replaying Spec Ops when I was younger. I also really enjoyed the challenge in Spec Ops as a kid. There were levels that took my brother and I countless retries on Veteran. Much of that was due to the Juggernauts. These enemies require a lot of damage to kill. You will know when they spawn because you will hear the drums as they're walking towards you. Oh fuck, I think he's behind us. Mike. Mike, he's behind us.
I know. Alright, go. Go.
I don't think that was a good decision to jump. That's the problem. He's behind us.
I'm just running, bro.
No, we had to get rid of the Juggernaut first. Hearing those drums as a kid got me scared, and I would immediately try to find cover whenever I heard them. The Juggernauts show up in a handful of levels, but they were menacing in every level they were in. However, after replaying the missions with my friend a couple weeks ago, Juggernauts really aren't that difficult. If you either have the Intervention or the Barrett, then you are pretty much good since they do heavy damage and only take a few shots to kill a Juggernaut.
Oh no, I hear it.
Where you at? Oh!
Oh, he's coming from the building.
What's up? Oh yeah!
In 3 out of the 4 missions where Juggernauts spawn, their Intervention or Barrett are available from the start. Even the last mission, Armor Piercing, where you have to kill 15 Juggernauts at the oil rig, really isn't that difficult since you both have the Intervention and Barrett available and an ammo crate, so you can never run out of ammo. However, I would say the mission High Explosive, where you have to kill 10 Juggernauts with only explosives, was the hardest mission for my friend and I. You have to get a headshot with the grenade launcher or the RPG if you want to kill a Juggernaut quickly. If not, you'll waste a lot of time reloading, and that gives the chance for the Juggernaut to corner you. Initially, my friend and I didn't know what to do to complete this mission. When I played this mission back in 2009, my brother and I used this tactic of hiding in a room, and I would block the door and continuously knife the Juggernauts until I got downed while he hides and keeps reviving me. I didn't want to do the exploit again, so my friend and I tried to camp in the spawn area, but it wasn't working too well. We decided to just run laps around the map and shoot at the Juggernauts as soon as they turned the corner. It only got difficult when we ran into a Juggernaut that had just spawned, but eventually we made it through. After replaying all the missions, High Explosive was the only mission that my friend and I had serious trouble with. Even my friend remembered the levels being so much harder when he played it as a kid, but now most missions we don't die at all, or maybe just once or twice for others. Much of that is because you can get downed as many times as you want. As long as you get revived by your teammate, there is no penalty to being downed and then being revived. What they could have done was limit the amount of downs a player can get. maybe 2 or 3, just so there is some sort of lasting punishment. That being said, we still had a lot of fun replaying the missions. The stealth missions I really enjoyed because they require a lot of coordination with my friend and I. If you are discovered, a lot of enemies would show up and most likely you would end up dying. In Hidden, there's a building with a tower and my friend went up there to take care of enemies from afar while I took care of the enemies closer to the building. This mission you also have to face off against ghillie snipers, so you need to have a good eye to spot them. However, the spawn locations for those snipers never change, so once you play it a second time, you will already know where the snipers spawn. In acceptable losses, you have to plant 3 explosives in a blizzard. My friend and I had to coordinate in certain areas to make sure we take out a group together and make sure that there would be no one to witness the deaths. The blizzard pretty much makes the enemies blind, so you can prone your way through most of the level.
Okay.
Hey, yo.
The wave defense missions were also pretty fun. In Simplify, you're on top of this building sniping enemies coming towards you, but you also have to worry about them coming around the building to flank you. However, you can plant claymores to protect yourself, and you have access to predator missiles. Homeland Security is a much more intense wave defense level since now being in the outside of buildings allows the enemy to target you with predator missiles, and now even the enemy has ground vehicles and attack helicopters, so you have to be much more careful if you're pushed out of the building. The co-op only missions where only one player is in the AC-130 or helicopter providing cover were also really fun. In both missions, there's a time limit, and so the player above has to take out all reinforcements coming towards the player on the ground so that player can advance forward towards the end of the level. I wish they made more levels similar to this style. Overall, replaying this game in co-op was a fun experience even after all these years later. It was much easier than I remember, but then again, I was only around 12 years old when I first played Modern Warfare 2. And my friend and I pretty much knew most mission layouts, so we knew what to expect coming in. If you never played Spec Ops before, or even if you haven't played it in a couple of years and you still own a copy of Modern Warfare 2, I would definitely recommend you get a friend and play through Spec Ops.
He's so good. He's so loud. So
Wow. Wow. I shot 2 RPGs at him.
Damn, Mike.
So after replaying Spec Ops with my friend, I decided to try something different. I played Spec Ops solo to see how truly difficult the missions can be. And I was not disappointed, this mode does get a lot harder by yourself. Still, some missions I was able to complete without dying once, but a lot of them took me multiple tries. The stealth missions are a little harder now because I can no longer coordinate with my teammate to take out multiple enemies at a time. So, I have to be quick when taking out a group by myself. At one point, I was discovered in acceptable losses, but not everyone was alerted. So I had to run away and hide until they came my way for me to take them out. The Juggernauts caused some trouble here and there, mostly in the levels Snatch and Grab and Estate Takedown. In Snatch and Grab, you get to a choke point where you're in a crashed plane and you have to cross into this open area. There are a lot of enemies in that open area, so you have to take out as many as you can from that crashed plane. However, eventually a Juggernaut spawns behind you and you don't see him until he gets really close to the plane. So you either have to snipe him before he gets to you, or you jump out of the plane and try to find cover between the enemies in the open field and the Juggernaut. It was one of the most tense moments I've had while playing Spec Ops. In Estate Takedown, the beginning of the mission is pretty easy. The first Juggernaut is easy to take out since you have the Barrett, and once you take control of the main house, you're pretty much good until the end of the level. When you're trying to take out the last remaining enemies, you have to get out of the house for a bit to pick off whoever is left. This is when the game gets kinda cheap since the Juggernaut could spawn literally right next to you while you're outside and you end up dying. I was about to finish the level until Juggernaut spawned not too far from me, and then I panicked and I tried to run upstairs and I ended up dying. The level high explosive surprisingly took me one try to beat by myself. And to be fair, I already knew what to do since I played it with my friend, so I just ran laps around the map. There were close calls though when a new Juggernaut spawned and I end up running right in front of them. Then in Armor Piercing, I just planted claymores and camped until all the Juggernauts came towards me. Not the most interesting way to play this level, but for solo, I felt like I didn't really have a chance if I actually went out of my way to look for all the Juggernauts. Another mission that was notably difficult was Terminal. For some reason it felt like the enemy was much more accurate in this level than any other level. Also, the riot shield enemies do get annoying. It took me a lot of tries until I realized that getting a riot shield for myself was the best strategy. The level Breach and Clear was supposed to be a hard mission, and it usually always is, even in co-op. Not only are there riot shield enemies, but there are enemies above you on both sides, so it's really hard to move forward. It's a really short level, but usually if you aren't patient, then you are going to get killed. I was really dreading this level by myself, so I just ended up throwing some stun grenades and sprinting my way through, and somehow I was able to make it on my first try. Wet Work was also a very long level compared to the rest of the Spec Ops missions, so dying at the end would have been a disaster for me. I played very carefully throughout this level. I did die a couple of times, mostly by the helicopter. However, the ending section with the smoke grenades I was able to complete. There were some very close calls, but I didn't really want to restart the whole level over, so I was very careful while playing through that section. War Driving was probably the most difficult mission for me solo. The objective is that there is intel you have to download in 3 houses. So first, you need to clear out the house, set up your defenses with claymores and turrets, and then start the download, and then defend against enemies trying to stop the download. Enemies can come in through multiple entryways for every house, so there really isn't an ideal area to hide in the houses to protect yourself while also defending the intel. Your claymores will only take out the first wave of enemies, but after that they will keep coming in. You do have the ability though to target enemies and have the striker vehicle take them down outside, but it isn't able to clear every single enemy coming in. The last house is the most open out of all the houses, so you have to be very careful while defending because enemies can easily swarm through. And if the enemy does disable the download, you have to get out of whatever cover you're in and restart it, and that can cause you to die. I did attempt to use 2 controllers on my own and play through the AC-130 mission, but I was dying so much, so I eventually just gave up. Switching back and forth between controllers was a bit of a pain, especially since one of my analog sticks is a bit messed up, so the controller of the AC-130 would drift up. So while I was controlling the player on the ground, I could not see what enemies were coming towards me due to the shifting camera of the AC-130. Overall, playing Spec Ops solo was a very fun experience. If you felt that co-op was a little easier than you wanted, then trying Spec Ops solo would be a great way to re-experience the mode. Sure, it is a bit of a bare bones experience, a lot of missions are pretty quick, but the mode does provide with a variety of objectives and playstyles that may lead to you replaying levels in the future. What do you all think? Maybe it could be the nostalgia for me, but am I overly praising Spec Ops from Modern Warfare 2, or did you all enjoy the game mode back in the day? Also, have any of you replayed Spec Ops recently? Please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you all think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.